We've got a news alert on General Electric. Let's get to Morgan Brennan at the New York Stock Exchange for all the details. Morgan.
Hey, Melissa. Well, General Electric did just drop its 10K filing with the SEC. Also, Larry Culp, CEO and chairman of GE, his first annual letter to GE shareholders. We're still combing through all of the materials here, but some of the tidbits that do stand out right now, especially in that letter, saying that the company intends to maintain a disciplined financial policy targeting a sustainable credit rating in the single A range, GE industrial leverage of less than 2.5 times net debt to EBITDA, a GE capital debt to equity ratio of less than 4-to-1, and ultimately a dividend level in line with our peers. You'll recall the company has slashed the dividend 2 times. It's now down to a quarterly dividend of a penny. So just to hear those comments, no details on when that could potentially happen, but just to hear comments like that marks a shift from what we've seen for this company in the last couple of years as it tries to turn itself around. Also, Culp talking about the fact that they're looking to change and revise and streamline their reporting process. Going through the 10K, I haven't seen any more updates or details in terms of some of those investigations with regulators either. But for now, looking at the materials, the fact that they are ultimately targeting a dividend in line with peers is the thing that really stands out. Also worth noting, next week we're going to be getting a so-called teach-in on the insurance business within GE Capital. And the following week, on the 14th of March, is when we expect an updated outlook for this company for 2019 and beyond. We're not getting any of those types of numbers in this release right now either. Melissa?
Right. All right, Morgan, thank you. Morgan Brennan. Another headline coming out here is that they completed a 2018 review of the legacy insurance business, which dovetails with what Morgan had said. In terms of the dividend, they just cut that in October. So there's only been one payout of that dividend at a penny. That is one of the fast. I mean, for them to cut it and then turn around basically 2 months later and say, hey, we're going to think about, granted there's no time frame, about restoring it in line with peers.
I don't get that, really. They got a lot of other stuff to do. Also, I question in line with peers. Who are their peers? Right. What are their businesses they're going to be in? I mean, we kind of have a big idea of it, but maybe that's not what ends up happening. It seems like it's sort of free for the CEO to just leave the dividend at a penny, work on the other stuff, work on the balance sheet. You can always revisit that later. That's odd. I don't really get it.
Well, restoring confidence at GE takes many different forms. And one of the forms is certainly the balance sheet and some sense of solvency and certainty. And that's what GE always had for people. So if you think about that, that's why he talks about a dividend someday. In the meantime, they also just filed a shelf offering registration for a potential mixed shelf, which we don't know what it is. We don't know what the size. By the way, good news, not bad news, good news, because I think the market wants these guys to have some flexibility, to have some financing in the tank if they need it. At the same time, he's talking about very sane things. He's talking about 4 clear business lines. So there was nothing extraordinary here either way, but it plays on the same themes of predictability of a company that at least is getting back to a conservative approach to running their core businesses. And that sounds outside of paying a div. I agree right now. You don't need to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with telling people we want to be that company again, and I'm taking us there now.
But does that give you predictability? I mean, to me, all of a sudden it says they're taking the eye off the ball. They're saying someday we want to do this dividend. It doesn't give me any more predictability. In fact, it gives me a little bit of agita, frankly, like, wait a second, they just sold a unit. Maybe this all of a sudden now they're going to go back to their old ways. I agree with Karen. Like, why do this now? Just wait until you can actually pay it and then do it.
It's interesting. I think Tim brings up, because that's what I saw. At 458, GE files mixed security shelf, indeterminate amount. So the stock closed at 1065. If they had done the same thing, same announcement 2.5 months ago-ish, I think the market would have treated this much differently. So to Tim's point, I think maybe they feel they're on much firmer ground now that they're able to do something like that, to playing from strength instead of weakness. So I look at that as a good sign. Getting back to the conversation we had yesterday, though, what is GE now? It's a power company, and they have still major issues to address in those businesses. Clearly, they're trying to, but selling that healthcare unit for $21 billion, which was great, by the way, probably a lot more than they thought, that's fantastic. But what are you left with? And that's what they have to come to grips with.
So are you more certain about buying GE if you were to buy GE?
I'm long leaps. I have leaps at 20. Right.
You feel better about the stock today at 1066 versus 666. It's low.
Versus 666. Yes, I do. I think some good things have happened. And the markets, remember, GE debt is really a concern. And the debt markets were seizing up. So if they needed to access them, that would have been real trouble for GE. It's much better now.
Yeah, I mean, Karen talking about the concept of fallen angels, by the way, is something we were all talking about in December. And GE was one of those names we weren't talking about, right? It was kind of like, so I think it's a much better time in terms of the credit profile of the company with enormous issues that everyone here is talking about still ahead of them. But I think a hard focus on returning to, austerity in a way that's not going to choke it off. I know they can't have it both ways, but I like what I hear.